Hi everyone. Today we're here with Jesper Karlsen, winner of Garda Meeting and Rock, and one of the top contenders for this year's Worlds. And we're also with Marcelo, national Italian coach. How are you guys?
Good, good.
Hi, good evening.
Perfect. So we're here and we've got Worlds and Europeans very close. What are you up to, guys, now?
We go training from the 12th to the 16th of June in Porto Rose, where we'll have 4 intense days of preparation, so we can understand the conditions, and we can also fix the sails.
Okay. And you, Marcelo, what are you up to?
But last period, when finished the trials, we have the 2 important teams. One start for Turkish at the end of that week, and the world team is beginning with the work for the team racing last week in Mandello del Lario, and next week we go with the national to the Rizzotti Trophy, and with Michele Ricci, and we divided that program because the European and Worlds is very near. There is a problem for 1 people more, and I prefer go to the Turkish for the European, and after as soon as possible when I return immediately we work for the Porto Rose, and I think we have a good program for arrive to the best.
Okay, so we see both of you are very busy preparing for Europeans and Worlds. With the topic of this call was meant to be and will be about fleet racing. We've got Jesper that has won very big, important regattas this year. So we could maybe start speaking about your overall perspective in fleet racing, Jesper. You're muted. Sorry, Jesper.
I usually prepare my regatta in base of the opponents. If they are pushing more, like in the starts, I try to stay more out of the chaos and then have a good start with free wind, and then try to work up and arrive the best as possible to the top mark, and then start to play for the top places. Instead, if the fleet is more, it's not pushing too much, I try to start to the farthest point as possible. I don't know how to say it, on the right side, on the best place on the line, so I can have the command of the fleet.
Okay, so you're basing your strategy based on how much the rivals are pushing. And how are you deciding, or when do you start thinking about which side will be better, either during that day or during the race? And do you have any onshore preparations?
Well, usually before the start, I try with my teammates the course, and I ask my coach to look at the current on every mark, so I can have more information. And then I also try the line to see the best point. And if I know good the place, I also know when the wind is going to change, right or left. Instead, if I don't know good the place, I'll try to look also at the clouds. Maybe they can tell us where the wind is going.
Okay, so you're using also meteo factors like clouds and also the forecast. How else do you prepare for a specific venue? Like, for example, you won Garda this year. Is there any specific preparations you take there?
Actually not. I am kind of used to the place, so I knew exactly what to do in every moment.
You were playing with home advantage, no?
Yes.
And when you don't know that much the place, like for example, where did you have the nationals this year?
We had the nationals in the south of Italy, and the conditions was really tricky because it was light wind and not much current, but the wind changed a lot. So we had to stay really focused on all the changes. And every day was different, so it was difficult to everybody.
And what else? And what did you do to stay on top of the fleet those days? Anything special?
But I tried to stay the more at the center as possible, so I could manage to not lose too much if the wind changed the opposite direction of where I was.
Okay. And obviously in regattas that big or playing with something important like qualifying to Worlds, there's nerves coming. How do you manage your mindset to stay in shape for the competition?
I usually do some mental games to stay concentrated, like I take someone from the Formula One drivers at land, and when I get on the water, I always try the conditions, and I try not to think about too much about the regatta, so I stay more relaxed, and I focus on every meter and not on the whole regatta.
So you go step by step and just keep it in focus in the process, no?
Yes.
So I have a question now for Marcelo. We have very good Italian sailors that are always coming, like Jesper and others in the past. One of them that really stands out is Marco. How do you think Marco was comparing to the sailors nowadays?
It's a difficult answer because Marco is a talent, a very big talent, and I think is not really compared with the generation of now of Italy. I think that after Marco finished the career of Optimist, we work more too much about 3 points very important: the technique, the rules, and the physical preparation. And after, I think there is a very important now work with the mental, because the part mental is totally now. During a long event, we stay for 8 days in the race, and the day before. For Marco, is more easy to approach in some event, because I think have a young age, but have a mental too high. When Marco passed to Luna Rossa, we look the talent about approach with a new game is very easy for Marco, but is another spirit. But I think now we have some very good sailor but we must work in these 3-4 points for arrive a good level. For a level of Marco, it's very difficult to arrive, but I think the work is important. Every day you write a paper, you write a strategy, you write a story. I think we use too much the story of Marco for arrive to a new generation every year. I think it's important to study a new strategy. If you understand that you have not finished to study, you can build a good future.
So you're saying that Marco was a very highlighted sailor in some points, like technique, mindset, and like overall. And how do you think these steps can be improved by sailors nowadays?
But Marco, I think you have a high percentage. What do you tell? You understand immediately, and you use the information. With the other guys, it's more difficult that arrive. It's important the period. With Marco, the period is very short. With the other guys, it's too long. But I think I look a very big number of sailors in the past and in the present and now. And I think that if you work with the point that we speak before, I think we arrive to have a good project for an increase of our team, our athletes. I think that.
Okay, so that's very interesting, and there's something that really stands out for me from the Italian team, and is the national camps you have during the year. I don't remember how the GAN the code.
No.
I think that's something very positive that you have in Italy. Could you maybe give us your perspective, the two of you, as to how training with such a high level has helped you in racing after?
But I think the GAN is a national group, have a life to September to arrive in March. And after this project, the guys have with your coach the selection, and after we have now a special preparation for the event. It's a two different quality of work, but I think in this if with this project I have the possibility to speak, to know very well the guys, and it is important for help during the event, the international event. And it's clear that the guys work in the club with the coach, and our work is use the work in the club and support the club and the coach for the maximum level in the point that we speak before: the technique, rules, team racing, physical, mentalist. There is a big project. I think in this period, in the past years, we worked too much about that, and I think that we have a good results with many sailors. Marco, but there is other more guys very strong, and I think we look in this moment the Italian team is many class after the Optimist is a good preparation, and I'm very happy for that, because we have prepared a new generation that arrive in the Olympic class in 5-6 years. If you think that the first national group that I work is born 2030, is my first world championship, and now Dimitri Peroni is one of ILCA Olympic team of Italy, and Chiara Beni Floriani is arrived 5 to the Olympic Games and win in a year last 2 weeks ago. And I think after that we begin to work every year best, and I think is arrived to a good project now.
Yes, I definitely agree that sailing as a nation starts in the base, and you Italians are doing a very great project and constantly bringing great sailors that are now in youth or junior Olympic or even Olympic classes, and that's very great. And I would like to hear from Jesper how this national training has helped you to prepare for the big races. You're muted, Jesper. Sorry.
It's really important because all the best of Italy trains together, and with that you also know better your opponents at the selections, and you always improve yourself. And thanks also to good and intense trainings, we also do a physical part at land, like 1 or 2 hours a day, and we work all the day for 3 days straight, and we do this 5 times in a year. Then the preparation before the events is also important, because you get also to know better the place where you will have the important regatta, and you can manage to fix the last things about the tactics and the speed.
Okay, and how does on a mental side help you improve this training against the best in Italy to like prepare for racing, like when you're going to go to Worlds or Garda Meeting or Rock, where the level is also very high?
Well, you get used to stay always on a high level, so it's more easier to stay concentrated in other important regattas.
Okay, I think Marcelo wanted to add something now. There's some there's some questions in the chat that we can maybe address. And the first one is from Panagiotis. I don't know if you're with us, Panagiotis, and you would like to answer yourself.
Panagiotis, I remember Panagiotis.
Yes.
Every time.
Yes, nice to meet you. I am Panos from Greece, and the last year I am a national coach in Azerbaijan. The question I want to make to Jesper is how when we have a long wait on the water or on shore, how keep his mind on shape and how is be ready for the upcoming race, upcoming regatta. You understand?
Yes, yes. Usually I do some exercises on the water just before the start to stay more concentrated. And even when we wait for the wind or for the good conditions to come, I always ask my coach to check the forecast so I can also know better what will happen in the next hour. So I will also know better maybe if the wind's gonna go up or down, or it will last just for an hour. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
We have some other questions here in the chat. The next one is from Luis. I don't know if you want to ask them yourself, Luis.
Yes, I can ask myself.
Perfect.
The first question is to Jesper. What is the drill or the exercise you like the most while training with your coaches? And if you can describe what you like about it. And then, okay.
We with the national group we usually do an exercise that needs to take space on the line, and it consists on staying about 1 meter from each other, and the most on the left takes and points the back point of the other boat, and then you tack 20 centimeters from the other, and when the one that is under you has tacked, you also tack and do the same as the one under you did. Like that, you can manage to take easier space on the line.
Okay, thank you, Jesper. I have another one to Marcelo, if I can. What is the within the sailors you have been working with? What are the 3 drills you think they need to spend more time with working? You can describe 3 drills that you think, okay, they need a lot of time during these last years you have been working with top sailors.
But I think if the question is the specialist, I think with the technique is important. I think the priority is arrive a good work on the line, on the starting line. We use too much time. And after, I think it's very important that a good technique of the downwind, because I look with the Yoda course, it's very important to have a good speed in the downwind. And I think in the past and now we have some sailor very, very fast because we spend too much time about the downwind. And after, I think it's very important to change some exercise for in the short course and a long course, because we have a possibility to use to spend some time for the physical. The work is different. I think is important to work about very, very short course and about with more maneuver, more change of situation in the very little course. And with the long, I think I divide an upwind in 3 times. One 50 minutes upwind, stop 1 minute, another 50 minutes upwind, stop 1 minute, and after 10 minutes. And I work on the physical. This is a typical work that we use. Another point, very, very important, I think in this period is difficult on the starting line. We work too much with the starting, because it's very important that we have the maximum maximum look every of the line. It's very difficult. Obviously, when you have a golf fleet, because you have the start is very difficult to respect to the qualifying system. But if you look, there is some very important sailors have some mistakes with the qualifying and lost the discard because there is a very good problem with the starting line. It's very important every work about that.
Thank you very much, Marcello. Thank you.
So from this call, what I'm getting is that the Italian method to improve is train harder, and when you finish, train even harder. And I'm quite impressed. I was checking the results from last year Europeans, where you finished second, Jesper, and Christian finished fourth. How did you manage to? It's a question that we've been getting lots in our email to you, and it was like, how do you manage nerves in competition like this when the podium was decided in less than 10 points between first and fourth?
Well, you have to minimize the mistakes and always know that you can make a mistake, but also the other can make mistakes. So you have to stay calm and don't get too much nervous, because the others are just like you.
And how do you focus or plan the next race when the race hasn't gone as you expected? For example, if you do a bad race.
Well, usually first I analyze what I did wrong in the race I did bad. Then, when I got all the information I need of my mistakes, I don't think more about that race, and I just take the knowledge that of the mistakes I did, and then I go on and sail the next regatta like it was the first.
So that's very good and very mature attitude from your side, just clean slate and taking the knowledge. But I also have a question. And how do you do when you have a bad start, because you can't do a clean slate there? You have to keep on pushing. How do you manage to pick up spots in the racing?
Well, usually when I do a bad start, I try to get a clear wind as fast as possible. Then when I manage to get clear wind, I try to go headers and lifters if the wind is shifty, and slowly try to catch up on the top positions of the fleet. Then in the last 20 meters before the upwind mark or yes, before the upping mark, I go to on the side of the course where there are less people, so I have less chaos, and then like that I can gain a lot of boats. Then the rest of the regatta, I try to do as less mistakes as possible to catch up every boat.
Okay, so it's very interesting what you were saying now about the approaches, because I was about to ask you about that. Do you have any other tips about the upwind mark approaches?
Well, if you have a lot of current coming from the right side of the course, so you have it on starboard, I usually approach the mark from the left, really near the mark, and then I get, when I pass the left ley line, I go go fast, and then I go a bit over the ley line of the right side, and then I tack. So I don't have to make many tacks on the right side of the course, because maybe if you're a bit in the back, people tax on your front, and you have to constantly tack, and every tack with current you lose.
Okay, so that's very interesting. Just going fast, no, going fast, less meters, and trying not to stop the boat. And I was recently speaking with one of the top Italian sailors, Andrea's brother Alex, and he had very clear what he was doing downwind and in reaching to pass boats. What's your call on this when you're a bit behind the fleet and you have to pass boats?
Well, on the reach, usually if there is a good wind, I try to go low because there are less boats, and if if the other boats are really high, you do less meters, and you can get also a better speed. And on the downwind, I try to go, well, if I'm behind, I also cover the other boats, so naturally I can also gain. And I try to go to the part where there are less boats, so I have more capacity to gain.
Okay, so you're choosing the side with less boats. You doing that also because of speed, or just to like have less chaos overall?
To have less chaos, and the most of the time it's also the better part, because if you go to the part where there are more chaos, you have also less wind. And if you go more on this side, the wind gets directly to you and not between the sails of the other boats that are behind you.
Okay, so full throttle downwind, no, just to pack boats.
Yes.
Nice. That's a really good tip, and it's interesting because when I was speaking with Alex, he was saying the same thing: go fast downwind and just fast and fast boats. And I just realized now that we have a few more questions in the chat. We have one from, I don't know who it is, iPhone. That's a bit off topic, but it's interesting. And he was asking about maybe he could. Sorry, he was asking about how to do good tags in light winds, and we're about to speak about the upwind. So maybe you could also give your call on that and how to do fast tags.
Well, you have to go in the tack really fast, so you have a more probability to get out of the tack really fast. And then you have to try to get the rudder out of the water. And if you manage to do that, it means that you have done a good tack.
Okay, so body forward, and that's always a good tag.
Yes, I usually I work more with the body than the rudder, because the more you work with the rudder, the more the boat slows down.
Okay, and that's very interesting. It's a good technical tip. And we can maybe move on to the upwind now, the last upwind. And I have a question for you. Like, either when you're in front or the back of the fleet, how do you decide when you're going to open up the course or you're going to try and play the shifts in the middle?
Well, when I'm in front, I try more to stay in the middle, because I can control better the fleet, and it will be too risky to go wide on a side of the course. And if I'm behind, if the wind is really shifty, I still try to stay more in the center, and I don't think about the other boats, and I just go headers and lifters. If it's like in Lake Garda that you have to go straight right, I try to go a bit low, like I do more speed and not angle, so I can go the fastest possible to the like that I can gain more boats. Also if I'm covered.
So that's very interesting that you're using moving upwind to also play with the sides and when to play like closer or wider. So that's super interesting. And I have one question for Marcelo now. As regard to upwind, how do you know or what information do you give to sailors regarding tactics and strategy before the race? Do you do it like based on every sailor or it's overall?
But it's important that in the morning analyze the forecast, and after we have just some questions, some information very important. After Jesper speak about the current in every mark, is very important to analyze if there is some different currents, and after is important study the costs if there is some shift on near the cost, and after I think is important to understand that the right position on the start and the first strategy, the first analyze, and after is important every check in the every minutes if there is some difference, because the optimist course have a long space, and obviously there is one strategy for the first upwind and one strategy for the second upwind. If you have a good position, you must work in the second upwind with control and every check the condition on the second leg, because many race there is one leg more near to the coast and one leg to this more distance to the coast. This is a big difference. If I remember in Antigua, the second upwind is very near to the coast, and there is different waves on the left sides, and now we have the trials in Agropoli. It's very near, very similar to the condition of Portoroz, because there is some shift on the left, and we analyze that there is a similar condition. I think it's important every study the possibility that you have. If you have some race in the same location, you have a possibility to have more information. We stay in Portoroz 2020 when there is the COVID European is on the European in the October is a difference to June, but there is some information that we have from this championship. It's very important to have a historical of some racing area, because there is many race you return. In Garda there is 2 world championship in 7 years. Is important to have that. Every time is important to understand that the sky, you send you a message, and if you analyze the sky, you have the possibility to have every more information important.
So it's very interesting what you're saying, like especially the analyzing the strategy for both legs, for both upwinds, because it could be very different from one side of the course to the other one. And I've never thought about that. And also speaking now about Portoroz, it's true that there was the Europeans and having all the information about the historical is very important as a coach, I feel, no?
Yes. I remember that there is in October is some difference, but I think there is. Last year I go in the Easter period, and there is another condition, and I think I look every condition of Portorosso. But for us is a Mediterranean sea, Mediterranean condition. I think it's important to have some study the position of the racing area, because there is two positions of the racing area. One is inside of the bay, and one is out of the bay. That can change in effect the strategy, the best solution for the upwind. It's very important to analyze that, but I think we have some days for check that, and after the experience of the 2020, we have a good warm up about for that. I think we arrive to the world good.
That's great. That's great to hear. The Italian team will be strong. There's definitely some very good sailors like Jesper, and let's see how it goes. We have here some more questions that I think are for you, Jesper. I don't know if Birgit, hope I pronounced it well, could ask herself. Are you here with us? Are you here? No. Well, they're asking that if for you, Jesper, what would you do if you had to choose the good side of the line with a lot of chaos or the bad side of the line without chaos?
Well, I usually do start in the middle of these 2 points, because in the side of too much chaos, you have a higher risk of not starting at all, and then it's better to start on the bad start. But if it's really important to go to the right side, it's better to start more near the chaos, but not inside it. So if you stay a bit outside, like 5-6 boat lengths outside of the chaos, you can manage to have a good speed and still get to the right side of the course.
So that's what you're saying. It sounds very interesting to me. It's like speaking about risk management, no?
Yes.
And what other ways are you managing risk when you're racing? Is there any ways you're like thinking, oh, maybe I don't want to do that because I want to have a good start, or like I want to like not be in trouble?
Well, sometimes also in the Garda meeting, I wanted to start on port, because it was a really good advantage on the left, on the pin end, and I calculated a bit of the risks, and at the end, I decided to start at port, and I managed to make it. But the race after, other people thought to do the same, but it wasn't really it wasn't a good idea, and so it was better to start just starboard and then go a bit to the left and then tack. And this depends also. You have to see how the fleet is moving on the line, or it is going on the race. And the base of also of the fleet, you can decide where to go or what to do.
Okay, so it sounds like you're really reading the fleet and trying to anticipate. And that's great. That's for sure some skill that some of the best sailors have, being able to read into the future. And the questions just keep coming in. We have a Guamundur that asked the question, and also Panagiotis. If any of you guys could join and ask the question to Jesper or Marcelo, whoever you want to ask, it would be great.
Yes. My second question is, what is your morning routine before the races? When you are at hotel, let's say, okay, just you wake up, you go for breakfast, and that's all, or you have some other routines?
Well, usually when I wake up, I also take a shower, and then I go eat breakfast. And when I have a bit of time, I also look at the forecasts because it's better to look at them at the morning than in the evening because maybe something changed and it's better to have the freshest news. And I also try not to stay on the phone because it can take off the focus, and that's all. Then when I go to the club, I try to rig the best, rig a really good sail, and then I do some exercises to stay concentrated, and then I go on the water.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so that's great, Jesper. You can see that already since you woke up, you're thinking about winning and performing the best possible. And we have a question here from Sofia that asked, what's your pre-start routine for the last 5 minutes? I suppose since they hoist a fleet flag till like race time.
Can you repeat, please?
Yeah, she's asking what's your pre-start routine since they hoist orange flag till the time of racing.
Well, from the 5th to the 4th minute, I usually stay on the side I think is the best, and I try some angles to confirm that it's the best place. And then I stay over the line, so I can also see how the fleets moves, if they are pushing a lot or if they're staying more on every part of the line. Then I turn back on the line on the 2nd minute. Then I stay a bit out of the zone where I want to start. And then in the last minute, I fight for the place. And I try to start before the opponents so I can have a great speed and get out of the start with an advantage. Then I also try to not get an BFD.
Okay, so that sounds like very, very simple and easy, but it's for sure harder to do in real life. At least from my racing, it's very hard to get the clear start already and zoom across the fleet. But very good strategy, Jesper. Sounds like very good. And we have even more questions. And one is, what is the best strategy for big fleets? What do you think is the best strategy overall?
Well, if it's a really big fleet, it's more you have a more risk to that people maybe get a lift from the right or the left side of the course. So someone is always gaining on you, but you just have to stay calm and try to do the best for yourself, and always if you're in front, control the boats that are most near you, and also manage the risk. Like if most of the fleet is going to the left and 20 or 15 boats are going to the right, I prefer to control the fleet that is going on the left, because if the fleet on the left gains, I lose more, and if the fleets on the right gains, I lose less.
Okay, so yeah, once again, we're touching into the topic of fleet management and racing. So that's great. I think that your opinion is super, super interesting, and the way you try to balance the risk to never be out in game over. And we also have some questions about your training. We received in our email one that was how are you balancing school and sailing? And we could then maybe move to Cristianas, which is probably something similar to this.
Well, usually I try to study before I go. Like if I have training at home, I usually study a bit before I go to training. Then I also study just after. It's really difficult because you have to find time to study, and sometimes it's really difficult. But the school also helps me because they know that I'm really busy. So I can ask them like to move untest or anticipate it because if I have a race or something.
Okay, so always trying to find the balance and not letting school catch up with you, no? Always being ahead, just like in the racing.
Yes.
And then we have a Christiana's question, which is, what is your best opinion for training? Like, what is your opinion on the best training strategy? If maybe longer or shorter sessions, how do you like to do it the most?
Well, if you do a short and intense training, it's better than do a long but not so intense, because if you do a short training but really intense, you can learn more and you can give the whole training the 100%. Instead, if it's longer, you usually give not the max, but like 80 or 70%. But if you have to train for a physical part, it's better to have a long training.
Okay, and Marcelo, for you, what's your take on this question? What's better for training, longer or shorter sessions?
The question is the Luis extra question.
Yes, that one. Sorry.
Allora, this is a difficult question because I think for check a talent, I think is a very long, very difficult to analyze some part. The easy question is if you look at guys that arrive too easy to do something, this the base to arrive to understand that there is some technique characteristic and the philosophy, the check of the guys that the information that you do, but is not very easy in the 8 years to arrive to understand that. At 10 years we can try to look something, but I think at 12 is a good year that you can analyze if there is some guys can arrive to some to arrive to understand if there is the talent. I think it's very difficult to arrive to study guys in the young age. It's very difficult, and I think is not correct to think that if there is a guys that at 12 years understand that is impossible to arrive other guys similar. I think we look that in our story there is some guys have not much talent respect to other, but if arrive to best performance after 20 years, after 22 years. And the talent is important, but it's important that you understand that the priority is arrive to check a guys that with an high motivation for arrive, an high experience for arrive. I think it's impossible to discard a guys in the young age. For me, is important that. The question is that.
Did I answer your question, Luis?
Yes, thank you very much, Marcelo. It was, yeah. Thank you.
Your question is very difficult. It's very difficult. It's not easy. And if you think I look very, very good sailor in this year, but I think I use another philosophy. I work too much with the guys, and if the guys follow the project, I think it's important to start from a base every day, every month, every year. You look that there is a little a little or big increase of the performance. I think I look a very big number of guys, and I think I look that one guy is at 12 years. Is not a good sailor. He's arrived to the World Championship in 420. I think every year there is the possibility to change the mentalist, the performance of the guys. I think you must wait. I think at 12 years there is the possibility to have a focus about the talent.
The question was difficult, and this is why I asked you, because I know your experience. Thank you very much.
Yes, the question was difficult, but the answer was good. It's the story of talent versus hard work, the never-ending story. What will succeed, and only time tells. But we have some time for some last questions here, by Carlos and Guamundur. Could you guys maybe connect to us and yourselves if you're online? Carlos, we can maybe start if you're online here, if you want to ask it yourself. Well, I can ask for him. So his question is, Jesper, how do you manage when you have the fleet behind you in downwind to be able to sail fast and not get caught up with the bad wind from the other sailors?
It's a difficult question because it's hard to do it, because most of the time, if you're really near the opponents, they also try to cover you, because just like that they can gain. But if there is more wind, it's easier to not get cashed, because you have more possibility to play with the waves and go faster. Well, with light wind, I try to stay more wide, because in the center there is a lot of people that covers, and yes, and I also choose the side where to go in base of the conditions. If on the current, like if the waves are coming from the left, I also try to play with them, like going more to the left, and then try to play with the waves going more to the right at the end, because just like that I can gain more in the end and manage to run the mark still first.
So that's a very interesting strategy. In lighter winds, maybe opening up the course more, no, downwind to have clear wind. And when it's faster conditions, maybe like sailing more to the center.
Yes, also because when there's a good wind, if you can manage to play good with the waves, it is less important how much wind you have.
Yeah, of course, makes sense, no? Because you're able to surf and move the boat more around, no?
Yes.
Okay, and now as a last question to close off, it's been wonderful having you here, and we've all learned lots. The last question we have is, how do you stay focused the whole time if it's a long race, like for example, a regatta of 6 days?
Well, you have to manage to I don't know how to say it, the display all the energies you have in all the days, and maybe give less in the first days, but still have a constant results in all the days, because with maybe if you stay constant in the qualifications, you have a more I don't know, you can take more risks in the finals.
Okay, so like maybe at start when the racing is, let's say, a bit easier in qualifying, no? Don't give everything, just trying to cross and get safe to goal feed, no?
Yes, like stay on the top 10, top 5 results and not try to risk it all to get a first place. But you still have to manage to risk a bit, but not too much. And then maybe in the finals, you try to give all that you have to gain only just one vote.
Okay, so yeah, that sounds like the winning mentality and the winning way of dividing energies. So thanks a lot, Jesper and Marcelo, for your time today. It's been great having the national coach perspective and top sailor perspective of you, Jesper. So best of luck at Worlds and Europeans for you, Marcelo, and we'll cheer for the Italian team. Bye, guys.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.